This story is set in a secluded mountain province in the northern Philippines, where a new high school had just been built. The protagonist of this story is a seemingly ordinary high school boy named John. He lives a peaceful life with his mother and older brother who works abroad. They're not well off financially, but they have each other, and that's all that matters. One day while walking home from school, John notices a peculiar man following him. The man's name is Ken, and he's a psychopath who works as a salesman in the city. Ken travels around the provinces to sell various products, but his true obsession lies in collecting hands. He has an unhealthy fascination with them and has already added many to his collection. To obtain his desired body parts, Ken preys on unsuspecting victims like John, whom he lures into isolated areas, ties them up, and cuts off their hands before escaping. Despite being hunted by the police, Ken remains elusive, always staying one step ahead of them. Fearing for his safety, John decides to confide in his mother about the stalker. She reassures him that she will protect him and that no harm will come to him. However, John knows that his mother is too kind-hearted and would never hurt a fly. So he realizes that he must rely on himself to defend both himself and his mother. As the story progresses, Ken's obsession with John becomes increasingly apparent. He continues to stalk the boy, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike. Meanwhile, John trains his body in secret, preparing for the inevitable confrontation. He discovers that he possesses a unique ability to restore living things by punching them. This power allows him to heal himself and others instantly, making him virtually immortal. However, John keeps this ability hidden from everyone, including his mother, fearing that it will put her in danger. One night, Ken finally makes his move. He breaks into John's house, but is immediately confronted by the boy's mother. Despite her fear, she bravely stands in John's defense, but is quickly subdued by Ken. Realizing that his mother is in danger, John unleashes his full power, knocking Ken out cold with a single punch. However, when John tries to call the police, he is shocked to discover that there is no signal. It seems that Ken had cut the wires to the telephone lines, preventing anyone from calling for help. With the police unable to intervene, John must now decide what to do with Ken. Despite his anger and the pain his mother has endured, John chooses not to kill him. Instead, he ties Ken up and leaves him in the forest, hoping that someone will find him and take him away. However, when John returns home, he finds that his mother has disappeared. It turns out that Ken had kidnapped her and taken her to an abandoned house. There he reveals his true intentions, which go beyond simply collecting hands. Ken plans to use John's mother to lure his father into the trap as well, believing that he will also have the same desire for his son's hand. John is furious and heartbroken, but refuses to give up. He sets out into the forest to find his mother and bring her home. Along the way, he encounters various challenges and dangers, but his determination to save his mother drives him forward. He eventually comes across Ken's hideout and confronts him, but is shocked to see that his mother is nowhere to be found. Just when he thinks he may be too late, he hears a familiar voice calling out to him. His mother's life is still in danger, but she has managed to escape and is now hiding in an underground bunker. Realizing that time is running out, John must find a way to defeat Ken and rescue his mother. He unleashes his full power, sending Ken flying through the air with a single punch. However, the psychopath is still alive and continues to taunt John, gloating about his imminent arrival. John is desperate to stop Ken, but he knows that he cannot defeat him in a direct confrontation, so he devises a plan to lure him further into the forest. John pretends to be scared and runs away, leading Ken deeper and deeper into the wilderness. As the chase goes on, John's hope of escaping fades away. He knows that Ken will eventually catch up to him, and he must be ready to fight. Suddenly, he sees a large tree in front of him and pushes it over, blocking the path and giving him enough time to gather his thoughts. Ken appears behind him and taunts him, but John is unfazed. He confidently tells Ken that he is going to die, which angers the psychopath even more. As Ken prepares to strike the final blow, John closes his eyes tightly and waits for the impact. But it never comes. Confused, he opens his eyes and sees that Ken is lying on the ground, motionless. It turns out that the tree branch had fallen on Ken's head, killing him instantly. John is relieved that the threat is finally over. But he knows that he must hurry if he wants to save his mother. He leaves Ken's body where it lies and runs back to the abandoned house. When he arrives, he finds his mother tied up and gagged. But before he can free her, Ken appears behind him and pulls out a knife. He lunges at John, but the boy retaliates, sending him crashing into a wall. Despite being mortally wounded, Ken manages to speak. He reveals that he has infected John's mother with a deadly virus and warns him that she will die soon. John is devastated but refuses to give up. He rushes to his mother's side and uses his power to heal her. However, he quickly realizes that it's too late. She has already passed away. Overcome with grief and anger, John vows to make Ken pay for what he has done. With newfound strength, he pummels the psychopath until he is nothing but a bloody pulp. John then drags Ken's lifeless body to the forest and buries it. As the sun rises, John returns home feeling exhausted and defeated. He had failed to save his mother, and now he has no one left in the world. Suddenly, he hears a noise outside and goes to investigate. To his surprise, he finds a group of villagers standing in front of his house. They explain that they had heard about Ken's crimes and had come to help John. Touched by their kindness, John accepts their help and moves in with one of the families. Although he still feels the pain of losing his mother, he knows that she would want him to be happy. Determined to honor her memory, he continues to train his powers and waits for the day when he can use them to help others. Meanwhile, news of Ken's death spreads throughout the province, and the people are relieved that the nightmare is finally over. However, little do they know that Ken had taken something with him to the grave. Before he died, he had infected John's mother with a deadly virus, and it was only a matter of time before it took her life. As the days passed, John noticed that his mother was becoming weaker and weaker. She had lost her appetite and was spending most of her time in bed. Concerned for her health, he took her to the hospital, where she was diagnosed with a rare and incurable disease. The doctors told John that there was no treatment available and that his mother would likely die soon. Devastated by the news, John refused to give up. He spent all his time by his mother's bedside, praying that she would pull through. But as the days turned into weeks, it became clear that there was no hope. One night, John's mother passed away in his arms. Grief-stricken, he cradled her body and wept uncontrollably. Determined to find a way to bring her back, he reached out to the local shaman, who told him that he needed to collect the 4 elements of life. These were said to be hidden in different parts of the province and would allow John to resurrect his mother. Embarking on a perilous journey, John braved dangerous terrain and faced numerous obstacles to locate the 4 elements. Along the way, he encountered various mystical creatures and beings who tested his courage and determination. Finally, after a long and arduous quest, John managed to locate all 4 elements. He returned home and performed the resurrection ritual, pouring all his love and energy into bringing his mother back to life. In a dramatic and emotional climax, John's mother was resurrected, and she emerged from her grave, stronger and more determined than ever. Reunited with her son, they embraced each other tightly and vowed to cherish their time together. From that day on, John and his mother lived a peaceful and happy life. They used their experiences to help others and spread love and kindness throughout the province. And although they knew that death was inevitable, they were grateful for the time they had together and the strength that came from their unbreakable bond.